The invasion. The Zarthok Empire had conquered 47 star systems in 200 years. They had never known defeat. They had never known fear. Their ships were massive, their weapons were deadly, and their soldiers were born for war. Every species in the galaxy whispered their name with terror. The Zarthok were unstoppable, until the day they found Earth. Commander Vexnar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dark Talon. He looked at the small blue planet on his screen. It was beautiful, green lands, blue oceans, white clouds. But beauty meant nothing to the Zarthok. They saw only another world to conquer. "Send the message," Vexnar ordered. His communications officer pressed a button. The standard surrender message went out. It was simple. It was always the same. Surrender now or face extinction. You have 1 Earth hour to decide. The Zarthok waited. They always won. Some species surrendered immediately. Some fought for a few days, but they all fell eventually. The Zarthok had never lost. 59 minutes passed, then Earth's response came through. Just one word. No. Vexnar's soldiers laughed. His second-in-command, Officer Kresh, shook his head. "These humans are fools. They have primitive ships, old weapons. They cannot win." "Then we will show them the price of foolishness," Vexnar said coldly. "Attack!" The Zarthok fleet moved forward. 200 warships, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. They approached Earth's moon, where human defense stations waited. The humans fired first. Missiles streaked through space. Laser beams cut through the darkness. Explosions lit up the void like fireworks. But the Zarthok shields held strong. Their advanced technology protected them. The human weapons were like tiny stones thrown at a mountain. "Pathetic," Kresh muttered. The Zarthok returned fire. Their plasma cannons destroyed 3 human stations in seconds. Their torpedoes tore through human ships like paper. In just 10 minutes, half of Earth's defense fleet was gone. But something strange happened. The humans didn't retreat. The damaged ships kept fighting. Even when their hulls were broken, even when their engines failed, they fired every weapon they had. Some human pilots crashed their dying ships directly into Zarthok vessels. "What are they doing?" Kresh asked, confused. "They cannot win." "Why don't they run?" Vexnar watched silently. He had conquered many worlds, but he had never seen this. Most species ran when they realized they would lose. But these humans, they fought harder. One human ship was cut in half by a Zarthok beam, but before it exploded, it fired its last missile. The missile hit a Zarthok cruiser, damaging its engine. The cruiser drifted away, burning. "Commander," the tactical officer reported, "we've destroyed 70% of their fleet, but we've lost 6 ships and 12 are damaged." Vexnar's eyes narrowed. 6 ships against these primitive humans? That should not have happened. "Continue the attack," he ordered. "Show no mercy." The battle lasted 3 more hours. When it ended, the space around Earth's moon was filled with debris. Burning metal floated everywhere. The human defense fleet was destroyed. Only a few small ships escaped back to Earth. The Zarthok had won. But Vexnar did not feel victorious. He looked at the casualty report. 8 ships destroyed, 23 damaged, over 400 Zarthok soldiers dead, against a primitive species that should have been easy to defeat. "Sir," the communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving another transmission from Earth." "Let me hear it," Vexnar commanded. A human voice came through the speakers. It was calm, too calm for someone who had just lost a battle. "Zarthok Commander, this is Admiral James Harrison of Earth. Defense Force, you won today's battle. Congratulations, but I want you to understand something, Vexnar. Listened carefully. You just attacked our home," the human continued. "Our families live on this planet. Our children, our future. You made a choice today, and that choice was a terrible mistake." "Empty words," Kresh whispered. But Vexnar raised his hand for silence. Something in the human's voice made him uneasy. "We studied how you fought," Admiral Harrison said. "We recorded every move you made, every weapon you used, every strategy you tried. Thank you for the lesson, Commander. We're fast learners." The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet. Vexnar stared at the blue planet on his screen. For the first time in his military career, he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. "Sir," Kresh asked, "what do we do now?" Vexnar thought about the humans who crashed their ships rather than retreat. He thought about their calm admiral thanking him for a lesson. He thought about a species that treated a crushing defeat as a learning opportunity. "Prepare for the next attack," he said slowly, "but increase our defenses. Something tells me these humans are more dangerous than they appear." On Earth, Admiral Harrison stood in the command center, looking at the data his ships had collected. Battle formations, weapon frequencies, shield patterns, everything. He smiled grimly. "Let them think they won," he said to his officers. "Round one was never about winning. It was about learning, and now we know exactly how they fight. The real war was just beginning." Commander Vexnar could not sleep. 3 days had passed since the battle at Earth's moon. His fleet waited in orbit, preparing for the final invasion. But something felt wrong. The humans were too quiet. "Sir," Officer Kresh entered the commander's chamber. "We've received a message from Earth. They want to negotiate." Vexnar's eyes widened. "Negotiate? After 3 days of silence?" "Yes, sir. They're requesting a meeting at the neutral station called Hope's End. It's located between their solar system and ours. They say they want to discuss surrender terms." Vexnar stood up and walked to the window. He could see Earth below, still spinning peacefully. "This could be a trap." "Of course it's a trap," Kresh agreed. "But what can they do? Their fleet is destroyed. Their weapons are inferior. Even if they try something, we're stronger." Vexnar thought carefully. The Zarthok Empire had fought hundreds of battles. Sometimes, species did try to negotiate when they knew they would lose. It gave them time to evacuate, time to hide their people. But it also gave the Zarthok time to study their enemy's weakness. "We'll go," Vexnar decided. "But we'll bring our entire command staff. Show them our strength. Let them see that negotiation will not save them." 2 days later, the meeting took place at Hope's End Station. It was a small, old space station built centuries ago as a trading post. Now it was empty, floating in the darkness between stars. Vexnar entered the meeting room with 10 of his top officers. The room was simple. A large table, chairs, nothing more. The humans were already waiting. Admiral Harrison sat at the head of the table. He looked tired. His uniform was clean, but his eyes showed exhaustion. Next to him sat 5 other humans, scientists, diplomats. They all looked defeated. "Commander Vexnar," Harrison stood and nodded respectfully. "Thank you for coming." "Make this quick, human," Vexnar said coldly. "State your surrender terms." Harrison sat down slowly. "We want to discuss a ceasefire. Give us 6 months. We'll evacuate Earth's major cities. We'll move our people to colonies in the outer system. Then you can have the planet without more bloodshed." Kresh laughed. 6 months? You think we'll wait 6 months? Why waste more of your soldiers? One of the human diplomats asked quietly. "You've won. We know this, but we need time to move 3 billion people. Have mercy." Vexnar studied the humans carefully. They seemed genuine, broken, desperate. This was what defeat looked like. 3 months, Vexnar said finally. "You have 3 months. If you try anything, we'll destroy every human ship in this system. Understood?" "Understood," Harrison said, his voice barely a whisper. "Thank you, Commander." The meeting ended. The Zarthok returned to their fleet satisfied. The humans had begged for mercy. The war was essentially over, but Commander Vexnar's doubt returned that night. Something still felt wrong. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, something extraordinary was happening. In the Draknor system, a reptilian species called the Sesiath received a strange transmission. It contained detailed information about Zarthok military tactics, ship designs, weapon frequencies, battle strategies. The message was from Earth. "They'll come for you next," the message warned. "We're sharing everything we learned. Prepare yourselves." In the Kelvor Nebula, an insect-like species called the Vrix received the same transmission. Complete Zarthok fleet movements, defense patterns, command structures. In the Outer Rim, a peaceful trading civilization called the Methari received not just information, but an offer. "Join us. Together we're stronger than apart." Within 1 week, 53 different alien species received human transmissions. Some ignored them. Some were afraid. But 12 species responded with one word: yes. Back at Earth, Admiral Harrison stood in a secret underground facility. Around him, hundreds of human scientists and engineers worked frantically. "Admiral," A young scientist called out. "We've successfully decoded their shield frequencies. We can penetrate them now." "Excellent," Harrison replied. "What about the alliances?" A diplomat approached with a tablet. 12 species have agreed to join us. The Mathari are providing ships. The Vriks are sharing their cloaking technology. The Sisith are sending weapons. Harrison smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had planned every move carefully. "Sir," another officer asked, "won't the Zarthok discover what we're doing?" "They will," Harrison admitted, "but not for another 2 months. And by then it'll be too late." He turned to face everyone in the room. "The Zarthok think they won because they destroyed our defense fleet. They think we're weak because we asked for mercy. But they made 3 critical mistakes." He held up one finger. "First, they underestimated our ability to learn. Every weapon they fired, every shield frequency they used, every tactic they tried, we recorded everything." A second finger. "Second, they assumed we fight alone. But we've been contacting every species in this region for 3 days. The Zarthok made enemies across the galaxy. We're simply uniting those enemies." A third finger. "Third, and most important, they attacked our home. They threatened our families, our children. When you do that to humans, you don't just fight soldiers. You fight an entire species that will never, ever give up." The room erupted in applause. But Harrison raised his hand for silence. "The hard work begins now. We have 2 months to build new ships, integrate alien technology, and coordinate with our allies. The Zarthok think the war is over. We're going to show them it's just beginning." Commander Vexnar discovered the truth exactly 47 days later. His intelligence officer burst into his chamber, panic in his eyes. "Sir, we've intercepted communications. The humans, they've been sending our military secrets across the galaxy." Vexnar felt ice in his veins. "What?" "Every battle tactic, every weapon design, every shield frequency, they've shared it all. Over 50 species now have complete information about our military." Kresh entered the room, his face pale. "Commander, we're detecting ship movements. Multiple alien species are mobilizing fleets. They're heading toward human space." Vexnar rushed to the bridge. On the screens he saw something that made his blood run cold. Human ships. Dozens of them. New designs. But not just human ships. Alien vessels surrounded them. Mathari cruisers, Vriks fighters, Sisith destroyers. An entire Alliance fleet. Admiral Harrison's face appeared on the communication screen. He no longer looked tired. He looked determined. "Hello again, Commander Vexnar," Harrison said calmly. "Thank you for the 3 months. We used them well. You taught us how you fight. Now we're going to teach you something humans learned long ago." Vexnar stared in disbelief. "We learned that the strongest weapon isn't fear," Harrison continued. "It's hope. You conquered through terror. We united through cooperation. You made the galaxy afraid. We made them brave." Harrison leaned forward. "The war isn't over, Commander. It's just beginning. And this time, you're outnumbered." The transmission ended. Vexnar stood frozen on his bridge, finally understanding. The humans hadn't been defeated. They had been planning. Every moment of the ceasefire had been preparation. "Sir," Kresh whispered, "what do we do?" For the first time in 200 years, a Zarthok commander didn't know the answer. Outside, the Allied fleet advanced. The real battle was about to begin. 3 months had passed since the ceasefire. Commander Vexnar stood on the bridge of the Dark Talon, watching the impossible unfold before his eyes. The human Alliance fleet filled his screens. Hundreds of ships from a dozen different species, all united under one purpose: to stop the Zarthok Empire. "Battle stations," Vexnar ordered, his voice tight. "All ships prepare for combat." The Zarthok fleet moved into formation, 200 warships, the pride of the Empire. They had conquered countless worlds with this fleet. But now, for the first time, they faced an enemy that knew all their secrets. Admiral Harrison's voice came through the communications again. "Commander Vexnar, this is your final chance. Withdraw from Earth's system peacefully or face the consequences. Officer Kresh slammed his fist on the console. Insolent humans! We'll crush them like we crushed their defense fleet. But Vexnar raised his hand for silence. He studied the enemy formation carefully. The human ships were positioned in the center, but they were surrounded by alien vessels. The Mathari cruisers held the flanks. The Vrix fighters circled above and below. The Seath destroyers protected the rear. It was a perfect defensive formation. Someone had trained these different species to work together. In just 3 months, the humans had done something the galaxy thought impossible. They had created unity from chaos. Sir, Kresh waited for orders. Vexnar took a deep breath. Pride demanded that he attack. Honor demanded that he fight. But wisdom whispered something different. Still, he was Zarthok. Retreat was not in their nature. Attack, he commanded. The Zarthok fleet surged forward. Their plasma cannons fired first, sending brilliant blue beams toward the enemy. But the Allied ships scattered, moving with practiced coordination. The Mathari shields absorbed the blasts. The Vrix fighters dodged with incredible speed, and then the humans revealed their first surprise. Human missiles struck the Zarthok shields, but these weren't the same weak weapons from 3 months ago. These missiles pulsed with energy that matched the exact frequency of Zarthok shield technology. The shields flickered and failed. 3 Zarthok ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. Impossible, Kresh shouted. How did they... They learned our shield frequencies from the first battle, Vexnar said grimly. I warned you they were studying us. The battle raged across space. Laser fire crossed in every direction. Ships exploded on both sides, but the Zarthok were losing ground. Every tactic they tried, the humans had already prepared a counter-move. When the Zarthok tried to split the enemy formation, the Seath destroyers blocked them. When they focused fire on one target, the Mathari shields protected it. When they attempted a flanking maneuver, the Vrix fighters were already there, waiting. It was like fighting an enemy that could read their minds. After 2 hours of combat, Vexnar checked his casualty report. His hands shook as he read the numbers. 15 ships destroyed, 38 heavily damaged, over 2,000 Zarthok soldiers dead. 3 months had passed since the ceasefire. Commander Vexnar stood on the bridge of the Dark Talon, watching the impossible unfold before his eyes. The human alliance fleet filled his screens. Hundreds of ships from a dozen different species, all united under one purpose: to stop the Zarthok Empire. Battle stations, Vexnar ordered, his voice tight. All ships prepare for combat. The Zarthok fleet moved into formation. 200 warships, the pride of the Empire. They had conquered countless worlds with this fleet. But now, for the first time, they faced an enemy that knew all their secrets. Admiral Harrison's voice came through the communications again. Commander Vexnar, this is your final chance. Withdraw from Earth's system peacefully or face the consequences. Officer Kresh slammed his fist on the console. Insolent humans! We'll crush them like we crushed their defense fleet. But Vexnar raised his hand for silence. He studied the enemy formation carefully. The human ships were positioned in the center, but they were surrounded by alien vessels. The Mathari cruisers held the flanks. The Vrix fighters circled above and below. The Seath destroyers protected the rear. It was a perfect defensive formation. Someone had trained these different species to work together. In just 3 months, the humans had done something the galaxy thought impossible. They had created unity from chaos. Sir, Kresh waited for orders. Vexnar took a deep breath. Pride demanded that he attack. Honor demanded that he fight. But wisdom whispered something different. Still, he was Zarthok. Retreat was not in their nature. Attack, he commanded. The Zarthok fleet surged forward. Their plasma cannons fired first, sending brilliant blue beams toward the enemy. But the Allied ships scattered, moving with practiced coordination. The Mathari shields absorbed the blasts. The Vrix fighters dodged with incredible speed. And then the humans revealed their first surprise. Human missiles struck the Zarthok shields. But these weren't the same weak weapons from 3 months ago. These missiles pulsed with energy that matched the exact frequency of Zarthok's shield technology. The shields flickered and failed. 3 Zarthok ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. "Impossible," Kresh shouted. "How did they—" "They learned our shield frequencies from the first battle," Vexnar said grimly. "I warned you they were studying us." The battle raged across space. Laser fire crossed in every direction. Ships exploded on both sides. But the Zarthok were losing ground. Every tactic they tried, the humans had already prepared a counter-move. When the Zarthok tried to split the enemy formation, the Seath destroyers blocked them. When they focused fire on one target, the Mathari shields protected it. When they attempted a flanking maneuver, the Vrix fighters were already there, waiting. It was like fighting an enemy that could read their minds. After 2 hours of combat, Vexnar checked his casualty report. His hands shook as he read the numbers. 15 ships destroyed, 38 heavily damaged, over 2,000 Zarthok soldiers dead. 12 days had passed since Admiral Harrison approved the suicide mission. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the hangar bay, looking at her ship. It was small, fast, and filled with enough antimatter explosives to destroy a moon. Beautiful, isn't she? Lieutenant Marcus Webb walked up beside her. He was her navigator, one of the 6 crew members who had volunteered to die with her. Beautiful and deadly. Chen replied softly, "Like everything humans build when we're desperate." The ship was called Last Hope. It was designed for one purpose only, to fly straight into the Omega device's power core and detonate. No escape pods, no return flight. One-way trip to save 3 billion lives. "Captain," a voice called from behind. It was Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their engineer. "We finished loading the final explosives. The ship is ready." Chen turned to face her crew. 6 people who had volunteered to die. 6 heroes whose names would be remembered forever. Marcus Webb, navigator. Age 28. He had a wife and a daughter waiting on Earth. Yuki Tanaka, engineer. Age 35. She had left behind elderly parents who begged her not to go. James Rodriguez, weapons officer. Age 24. Fresh from the academy, he could have had a long life ahead. Amara Okonkwo, communications. Age 31. She had 3 younger brothers who called her their hero. David Kim, medical officer. Age 42. The oldest of the crew, he had seen 2 wars already. Elena Volkov, co-pilot. Age 26. She played violin and painted in her spare time. 7 souls. 1 mission, 0 chance of survival. Listen up, Chen addressed her crew. In 2 days, the Omega device will arrive at firing range. When it does, we launch. Command estimates will have 1 shot at this. If we fail, Earth dies. She paused, looking each of them in the eye. I want to say this now while we still have time. Thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your sacrifice. History will remember us, Captain, Marcus said with a sad smile. History doesn't matter. What matters is that our families get to live. That's enough for me. The others nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, in space, the Omega device had arrived. Commander Vexnar watched from a distance as the massive weapon entered Earth's solar system. It was 3 kilometers long, shaped like a dark spear pointed at Earth's heart. Energy crackled along its surface as it charged its main cannon. Emperor Zargoth's face appeared on the communication screen. Vexnar status report. The Omega device is in position, my Emperor. It will reach full charge in 48 hours. When it fires, Earth will be destroyed completely. Excellent, the Emperor said with satisfaction. And the humans? What are they doing? They're evacuating, my Emperor. Millions of ships leaving the planet, heading to their outer colonies. They know they cannot stop the Omega device. The Emperor laughed, a cold, cruel sound. Let them run. Let them watch their homeworld die. It will teach the galaxy a lesson they'll never forget. The transmission ended, but Vexnar didn't feel victorious. He felt empty. He had spent his whole life conquering for the Empire, but this wasn't conquest. This was extinction. He thought about the humans who had fought so bravely, about Admiral Harrison who had outsmarted him, about the species that had united to defend Earth. Was this really honor? Was this really strength? Or was it just cruelty? On Earth, Captain Chen spent her final night with her family via video call. Her mother cried. Her father tried to be strong, but his voice shook. Her younger sister, only 16 years old, couldn't speak at all. "I'm proud of you, Sarah," her father finally said. "You're saving the world." "I wish there was another way," her mother sobbed. "There isn't, Mom," Chen said gently. "But it's okay. I'm not afraid. I'm doing this so you can live, so everyone can live. That's what matters." Her sister finally spoke, tears streaming down her face. "Will it hurt?" Chen smiled sadly. "For just a second. Then nothing. But you know what? In that second I'll be thinking about you, about everyone on Earth, about the future you'll all have because of this." They talked for 3 more hours. About memories, about childhood, about dreams that would never come true. When the call ended, Chen sat alone in her quarters and allowed herself to cry, just once, just for a moment. Then she dried her tears, put on her uniform, and prepared to save the world. The next day, Admiral Harrison gathered the crew of Last Hope in the briefing room. Behind him stood representatives from all 12 allied species. The Mithari, the Vrix, the Seath, all had come to witness this moment. "Captain Chen," Harrison began, his voice thick with emotion, "what you're about to do, there are no words. You're giving everything so that others may live. That's the highest form of courage." A Mithari elder stepped forward. Her species communicated through musical tones, but a translator device spoke her words. "Captain Chen, in our culture, we believe that true warriors never die. They become stars that guide others home. You will shine forever in our skies." A Vrix commander clicked his mandibles respectfully. "Your sacrifice shames us. We thought our species was brave, but you humans, you're something else entirely." One by one, each alien representative paid tribute. When they finished, Captain Chen stood at attention and saluted. "Thank you all," she said. "But we're not doing this alone. Every species here united to fight the Zarthok. Every one of you put aside old fears and old hatreds to stand together. That's the real victory, not our sacrifice. Your unity," she turned to her crew. "Team, it's time. Let's go save the world." The crew of Last Hope walked to their ship. Thousands of people lined the hangar bay, soldiers, civilians, children, all saluting, all crying, all hoping. As Chen climbed into the pilot seat, Elena Volkov touched her shoulder. "Captain, I'm scared." "Me too," Chen admitted. "But we're scared together, and that makes all the difference." The ship launched. In space, the Omega device was almost fully charged. Its massive cannon pointed directly at Earth. Energy swirled in its core, building to critical levels. In 24 hours it would fire, and Earth would cease to exist. But Last Hope was already moving. The small ship accelerated through space, heading straight toward the massive weapon. Zarthok patrol ships detected them immediately. "Unknown vessel approaching the Omega device," a Zarthok officer reported to Vexnar. "It's small, fast, probably a scout ship, but something made Vexnar look closer." He pulled up the ship's trajectory. It wasn't scanning, it wasn't gathering intelligence, it was on a collision course. "No," Vexnar whispered. "Those fools, they're going to all ships," he shouted. "Stop that vessel!
Fire everything!"
Don't let it reach the Omega device." 2,000 kilometers. "We're not going to..." An explosion tore through the ship. Half the controls went dead. Elena Volkov slumped in her seat, killed instantly by flying debris. "Elena!" Chen screamed. "Stay focused!" Marcus yelled. 1,000 kilometers. "Almost there." Chen took manual control. The ship was dying around her, but she kept it on course. Through the viewport, she could see the Omega device's power core. A swirling vortex of energy. 500 kilometers. "Captain, you need to activate the antimatter charges." Chen's hands flew across the controls. "The charge is armed. 10 seconds to detonation. Everyone," Chen said quietly. "It's been an honor. The honor was ours." "Captain," Marcus replied. The ship struck the power core. For one brief moment, there was silence. Then the Omega device exploded. The explosion was so massive that it lit up the entire solar system. The planet killer, the Empire's ultimate weapon, became a supernova of light and energy. The shockwave destroyed every Zarthok ship within 100,000 kilometers. On Earth, 3 billion people looked up at the sky and saw the light. They knew what it meant. 7 heroes had given everything, and Earth was saved. Admiral Harrison stood in the command center, tears streaming down his face. Around him, officers wept openly. They had won, but the cost... "Sir," a communications officer called out, her voice breaking. "We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Every species we contacted, they all saw what happened." Harrison wiped his eyes. "What are they saying?" The officer played the messages, dozens of alien voices speaking different languages, but all saying the same thing. "We stand with Earth. The Zarthok will pay for this. Humanity showed us what real courage means. We're coming to help. Send us coordinates." Harrison closed his eyes. Captain Chen and her crew were gone, but their sacrifice had done something extraordinary. They had united the entire galaxy. Commander Vexnar watched the explosion from his flagship. The Omega device destroyed, the Emperor's ultimate weapon gone, and 7 humans had done it. He thought about Captain Chen flying straight into death to save her people. He thought about the Allied ships that had sacrificed themselves to clear her path. He thought about every species in the galaxy now united against his empire. For the first time in his life, Vexnar made a decision his Emperor would call treason. He opened a secret channel to Admiral Harrison. "Human," he said quietly, "I want to talk. Not as enemies, as soldiers who understand sacrifice. What your captain did today, it changed something in me. Perhaps we can change something in this war." On Earth, Harrison received the message. He was surprised, suspicious, but also hopeful. "Commander Vexnar," Harrison replied, "I'm listening." The sacrifice of 7 heroes was about to change everything. The war was not over, but the path to peace had just begun. The new galaxy. The memorial stood in the center of New Geneva, Earth's capital city. 7 statues made of pure crystal, each one representing a member of the Last Hope crew. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the middle, her hand raised in a final salute. Around her, her crew forever frozen in their last moments of courage. At the base of the memorial, words were carved in every known language. They gave everything so that we could have tomorrow. Admiral James Harrison stood before the memorial 1 year after the sacrifice. The war was over now, but the memory remained. "Still visiting them, Admiral?" a voice said behind him. Harrison turned. Commander Vexnar stood there, no longer wearing Zarthok military armor. He wore simple civilian clothing. His scales, once polished for war, now looked softer somehow. "Every week," Harrison replied. "I owe them that much." "We all do." Vexnar approached the memorial slowly. He reached out and touched Captain Chen's statue. "In my culture, we don't build monuments. We believe warriors should be forgotten after death, so new warriors can take their place. But your captain, she should never be forgotten." Harrison nodded. "What brings you to Earth, Vexnar?" "I thought you were helping rebuild the Zarthok homeworld." "I am," Vexnar said. "But I wanted to see this, to understand what I was fighting against, and what I'm now fighting for." The 2 former enemies stood in silence, looking at the memorial. The story of how they became allies was already legend across the galaxy. 3 days after the sacrifice, the secret communication between Harrison and Vexnar had continued for 72 hours. They talked about the war, about the Omega device, about Captain Chen's sacrifice. "Why did you contact me?" Harrison had asked. Vexnar was silent for a long moment. "Because I'm tired, Admiral. Tired of conquering. Tired of killing. I've served the Zarthok Empire for 40 years. I've destroyed hundreds of worlds. And for what? Fear? Control? Watching your captain fly into death for her people. It showed me something I'd forgotten." "What's that?" "That there are things worth dying for. But there are also things worth living for. Your captain died for her world's future. I've been killing for an empire's past. Which of us was truly serving something meaningful?" Harrison had listened carefully. "What are you proposing, Commander?" "A meeting," Vexnar said. "Between you and me, face to face. No weapons, no tricks. Just 2 soldiers trying to find a better way." "Your Emperor will call that treason." "I know," Vexnar replied quietly. "But I don't care anymore." They met on the ruins of Hope's End Station, the same place where the false peace talks had occurred months before. This time both came alone, no guards. No backup. Harrison arrived first. He waited in the empty meeting room, uncertain if this was another trap. Then Vexnar entered, and Harrison saw something in the Zarthok commander's eyes. Regret. "Thank you for coming," Vexnar said, sitting down across from Harrison. "I almost didn't," Harrison admitted. "My officers think I'm crazy. Meeting with the enemy commander who tried to destroy Earth." "They're right. You are crazy." Vexnar allowed himself a small smile. "But so am I. Crazy enough to believe this war can end differently." "How?" Harrison leaned forward. "Your Emperor won't stop. He's already building another weapon. Our intelligence confirms it. He's angrier than ever after losing the Omega device." "Then we don't negotiate with my Emperor," Vexnar said. "We negotiate with my people," Harrison frowned. "I don't understand." Vexnar pulled out a data device and slid it across the table. "This contains communications from across the Zarthok Empire. Messages from soldiers, from civilians, from families who lost their sons and daughters in this war. Admiral, my people are tired too. They don't want to conquer anymore. They want to live, but the Emperor won't listen. He only knows war. What are you suggesting?" Harrison asked carefully. "A revolution," Vexnar said simply. "With your help, I can unite the military commanders who are tired of the Emperor's endless wars. We can end this from within, but I need your word that Earth won't attack while we're fighting our own civil war." Harrison sat back, stunned. A Zarthok civil war. It could save millions of lives, but it could also be a trap to buy time for the Emperor's new weapon. "How do I know I can trust you?" Harrison asked. Vexnar stood up and removed his military insignia, the symbol of the Zarthok Empire. He placed it on the table. "Because I'm giving up everything to do this. My rank, my honor in the Empire. If the Emperor discovers what I'm doing, he'll have me executed. I'm trusting you with my life, Admiral. I'm asking you to trust me with your peace." Harrison looked at the insignia, then at Vexnar. He thought about Captain Chen, who had trusted that her sacrifice would mean something, who had believed that the galaxy could be better. "All right," Harrison said, standing and extending his hand. "We have a deal." Vexnar looked at the hand, confused. "What is this gesture?" "It's called a handshake. It's how humans make promises." Vexnar reached out and grasped Harrison's hand. His scaled grip was strong but gentle. "Then I promise, Admiral, we'll end this war. Together." The Zarthok Civil War, the revolution began quietly. Commander Vexnar returned to the Empire and contacted every military leader he trusted. He showed them casualty reports. He showed them messages from families begging for peace. He showed them the cost of the Emperor's ambition. One by one, they joined him. General Karavex, who had lost 3 sons in the war. Admiral Thexmore, who was tired of executing civilians. Commander Silran, who believed the Empire had lost its way. Within 2 months, half the Zarthok military had secretly pledged loyalty to Vexnar's cause. Then came the moment of truth. Emperor Zargoth stood in the throne room, preparing to launch his new weapon. But when he gave the order, nothing happened. "What is the meaning of this?" the Emperor roared. Commander Vexnar stepped forward from the shadows. Behind him, 50 military commanders stood united. "It means, my Emperor, that the war is over," Vexnar said calmly. "We won't fight anymore. We won't conquer anymore. We won't kill anymore in your name." The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury. "Treason! I'll have you all executed." "You don't have that power anymore," Vexnar replied. "The military follows us now. The people support us. Your reign of terror ends today." The Emperor lunged at Vexnar, but his own royal guard stopped him. They too had joined the revolution. "You're weak," the Emperor spat. "The humans made you weak. The Zarthok Empire doesn't negotiate. We conquer." "No," Vexnar said sadly. "The humans didn't make me weak. They showed me what real strength looks like. Real strength is knowing when to fight and when to make peace. Real strength is admitting you were wrong. Real strength is changing." The Emperor was arrested. The war ended not with a final battle, but with a choice made by soldiers who were tired of fighting. The Galactic Council, 6 months later. Representatives from every species gathered at a new space station called Unity Point. It was built at the exact location where Captain Chen had destroyed the Omega device. A reminder of what sacrifice could achieve. Admiral Harrison stood at the podium, addressing the assembled delegates, humans, Methari, Vrix, Sieth, and yes, even the Zarthok, now led by Commander Vexnar. "For 200 years, Harrison began, The galaxy knew only fear. The Zarthok Empire conquered through terror. Species hid. They stayed silent. They hoped the Empire would pass them by. He paused, looking around the room. But then the Empire made a mistake. They attacked Earth. They threatened our home, our families, our future. And in defending ourselves, we discovered something incredible. Harrison gestured to the assembled delegates. We discovered that we're stronger together than apart. That unity beats fear. That cooperation defeats tyranny. Captain Sarah Chen and her crew didn't just save Earth that day. They saved the idea that the galaxy could be something better. The room erupted in applause. Every species had sent their highest representatives. This wasn't just a meeting. It was the birth of something new. Today, Harrison continued, we're forming the Galactic Council, a union of free species, dedicated to peace, cooperation, and mutual defense. No more empires, no more conquest, no more fear. Vexna stood and approached the podium. On behalf of the Zarthog people, I want to say something that's difficult for us. We were wrong. For 200 years we were wrong. We caused pain, death, suffering. We can't undo what we did. But we can build something better. He turned to Harrison. The humans taught us that the strongest weapon isn't fear or force. It's hope. It's the belief that tomorrow can be better than today. We want to be part of that tomorrow. If you'll have us. There was silence in the room. Old wounds ran deep. Many species had suffered under Zarthok rule. Many had lost loved ones. Then a Mathari elder stood. We accept, not because we forget, but because we choose to believe in the future Captain Chen died for. One by one, every species stood and agreed. The Galactic Council was born.